everyone, how are you doing today? I'm a bit stomachy today, but overall I'm feeling great. Temperature is getting warmer, the garden is starting to pick up a little bit. I think I can hear a rodent in the wall right now, but gonna get to it later. If you're new here, hi, my name is Sarah Labarre, and on Fridays I sit down and show you a craft that I've been working on. And this week we're back again in the sewing room. I'd like to use this occasion to give a big shout out to Bikes and Bloomers for providing the pattern and the inspiration for today's video. Bikes and Bloomers is a website that's created by people who are interested in cycling, sewing, and suffrage storytelling through inventive women's cycle wear. So they're interested in the history of women's cycle wear in the Victorian and Edwardian eras. During those times, some women wanted to ride the bikes, whether it was for exercise or for the added freedom of movement it provided. But they did have lots of obstacles between them and full enjoyment of the penny farthing. First, the usually large skirts of the Victorians meant fabric stuck in chains and even a broken limb from time to time. So it really was not safe for them to ride the bikes with the big skirts. And then there was the public harassment. See, society didn't look too kindly upon women striving for a bit of independence, and a woman on a bicycle was just considered fair game for the street harassers. The public shaming took a turn for the worse when women started wearing bloomers or pants to ride their bikes in public. Women in pants were a big no-no for the Victorian and Edwardian societies. There is still a big no-no today in some communities, even across North America. Ladies wearing bloomers were labeled as progressive or new women, and they were deemed suspicious, a threat to the rightful order of the society, and people hurled insults and sometimes even stones at them. Kind of like they do today with feminists. So this led women to devise convertible skirts that they could lift up and pin up to reveal bloomer legs, so the wearer could secretly switch from walking skirt to bicycle bloomers when she wanted to go to and from her appointments without being publicly shamed. So Bikes and Bloomers have studied these patterns and the patterns, and they have come up with a few completely free patterns, to which of course I'm going to put a link in the description box down below. I selected their Cycling Bloomer number 1. So, Cycling Bloomer number 1 is something that looks like that, which is a slimmer bloomer than bloomer number 2, but still has a nice set of gathers around the calves. I selected the bloomer number 1, the slimmer one, because I knew I didn't have enough fabric left to make the fuller ones, and I was right, because I've got enough fabric left to make a waistcoat, maybe, and that's about that. I got about 1.5 yards left. So I'm gonna have to be very parsimonious with this fabric. And if you think you recognize this fabric, then you are right. You have seen this cotton flannel before on this dress, which you've seen in a video where I make pockets on a couple of dresses. This dress is a pattern from 1958, so I'm just gonna put that away for now. So all the patterns from Bikes and Bloomers are completely free, downloadable PDFs, which you have to print out, tape together and then cut out. The only drawback is that the pattern is one-sized, and if you're anything else than a size like 5, this is gonna be too small for you. You're gonna have to do some sizing up. I personally am rail thin due to chronic illness, so I actually had to size down, and I hadn't had the occasion yet to show you how to size up a pattern, but I'd like to show you that sometime. So anyway, on my mock-up, I found the leg a bit too short. I added 2 inches, and on my final garment, I still find that a tiny bit short. I think I need to add yet another 1/2 inch at least. So there's that. So yeah, the pattern isn't ready to sew when you download it. You really need to make mock-ups, but once you get your final pattern, then you're ready to start making some pants.
First, let's go through all the pattern pieces. There are 2 front leg panels, which will also be cut in a lining, as well as 2 back leg panels, which will also be lined. There are 4 pocket bag layers, 2 welt plackets lined with fusible interfacing, 2 pieces of back facing as well as 1 piece of front facing also interfaced, as well as 2 rectangular pieces for the cuffs, which are also interfaced. The first thing I need to do is install the welt pockets on the front leg panels. One should always do it first. It's way easier to do it on a flat panel. If you don't know how to mount a welt pocket, I did a tutorial last week about this, and it'll automatically be suggested to you at the end of this current one. Once the pocket is done, I can sew the darts on the back panel, and then I'm finally ready to start putting the pants together. I'm first sewing both legs separately by doing their side seams and their inseams. This trouser closes on the sides, so I'll have to remember to leave the upper part of the side seams unsewn. You'll want to stop sewing before you reach the little extension flap on the back panel. I'm not finishing any of the seams because there will be a lining and all the raw edges will be hidden. Putting the crotch seam together is pretty simple when you don't have any pattern matching to do. You just put one leg inside out and one leg outside out. The one that's outside out will slide into the other one, so you can match the whole crotch seam, right sides facing each other. Very easy, really. The only thing that's complicated my job right now is the pattern matching, but I guess that's what I get for purchasing a cotton plaid. It'll be very pretty though. Off camera, I went ahead and repeated the last steps, sans welt pockets, for the pants lining. I chose a plain green shirt in cotton that'll be comfortable directly on the skin. I'm putting the lining inside out this time, and I'm sliding it into the actual pants, thus hiding all the raw edges away. I'm pinning all the upper and side edges together as far as I can take it. Before I sew anything up there though, I need to add my facings. I'm using Wonder Clips to match them, and I'll sew all these edges with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You may have noticed that I didn't sew the back facings together before sewing them on the pants. This pattern has a little dip between 2 points in the center back, and having this center corner loose will help me turn the facings inside smoothly. I can then sew the remaining seam by hand, which will allow me far better control. The front facing is completely finished, and soon the back facings will look just the same. I've turned it to the inside of the garment, and I've pinned it so it's very flat and smooth. I've already hand sewn that center back seam, and I'm ready now to take this to the sewing machine, where I'll top stitch the side and upper edges at about a 1/4 inch from the edge. You can make this narrower if you wish. This facing is top stitched and isn't going anywhere. To finish the raw edge, I'm folding it inwards by about a 1/4 inch, pinning it in place so it's nice and flat, and securing it by hand with regular whip stitches. At this point, the bloomers are almost done. I still need to add closures in the form of hooks and dies, but first I need to deal with those cuffs. The legs have 2 layers which need to be gathered, like this one right here. I sewed the 2 layers together with 2 parallel rows of running stitches, and I've pulled the thread to gather all the fabric. To make the cuffs, I'll simply sew the rectangles in a loop with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'll take this to the pressing board, where I'll press 1/2 inch seam allowance inwards. I'm slipping the gathered leg into the cuff, the right side of the cuff facing the wrong side of the leg, and pinning it to the unpressed edge, distributing the pleats evenly. I like to backstitch this seam by hand before taking it to the sewing machine because I have much more control over them this way. Once that is done, it's very easy to turn the pants outside out and bring the pressed cuff edge up to that previous seam. You can sew that in place by machine, but I find I have much more control over it, and it looks much neater if I do it by hand. All that's left to do is add a few hooks and dies, as well as some loops for the belt.
And there it is. I am really happy with the results. The bloomers are cute, they are comfortable, they're warm but not too warm, and they got that vintage history-bonding look that I like, without feeling, kind of costumey. All in all, it's a great piece. It's both elegant, yet kind of edgy, I think. Anyway, and I can't wait to make a coordinating waistcoat with that leftover fabric. I'd like to give a big thanks to Bikes and Bloomers for the free pattern and for the inspiration. 9 out of 10. I will definitely sew that again multiple times, that's a given. I guess the only drawback is the lack of diversity in the pattern sizing, but I guess I shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. And you know what, speaking of accessibility in fashion, the more I think about it, the more I'm interested in doing a video about sizing up sewing patterns. I think I do have a couple of patterns that are too small for me, so maybe I should seriously consider doing that. If it's something you're interested in, please tell me all about it in the comments down below. And again, as always, I'd like to thank you very much for sticking with me today. I had lots of fun, I hope you did too. If you did, please give this video a big thumbs up. If you're interested in sewing tutorials, hairstyling tutorials, painting, easy gardening tips, lumberjacking, and all sorts of other arts and crafts, and if you feel like sticking around, you may hit that subscribe button. I am here for you on Fridays. Until next time, I wish you a great weekend. I wish you a good week. I wish you good health. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of others. Make sure you drink plenty of water. And I'll see you next Friday. Bye!